Hello, I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. Thank you for your time. I'm continuing the investigation into Black Lives Matter. This video message focuses on Black Lives Matter, Canyon Country, California. And the question is, where is the tax-free money? This Black Lives Matter entity actually earned 501c3 status from the Internal Revenue Service. So I'm asking the question, where is the tax-free money? Again, this is part 2 of the Black Lives Matter Investigations series. Part 1 focused on the chapters that were listed underneath the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. There were 18 chapters that I investigated, and I uploaded my results to the Black Lives Matter Investigations playlist on my YouTube channel. So part 2 of the investigation focuses on Black Lives Matter entities that have earned 501c3 nonprofit status and are therefore called 501c3 nonprofit organizations. Here are the Black Lives Matter 501c3 nonprofit organizations list, and I will give you just a few moments to glance over the list. Again, this video is focusing on the Black Lives Matter Foundation, which is in Canyon Country, California, and the EIN number is shown here. EIN meaning Employer Identification Number. So again, this is a list of Black Lives Matter 501c3 nonprofit organizations. These organizations completed the process to earn 501c3 status or some other 501c status, nonprofit status. This is the remainder of the list of 501c3 nonprofit organizations. There are a total of 14 Black Lives Matter entities or organizations that earned 501c3 status according to the IRS.gov website. The Black Lives Matter Foundation is a special situation. So this video is longer than the other videos because there are some things that I want to pull out in this video that needs to be explained very methodically because this is a special one here. First, I want to say that the Black Lives Matter Foundation is not the Black Lives Matter Global Network. In one of the first videos that I uploaded, I mistakenly tied the two together, and they are not related at all. I was confused, like so many other people were confused about the relationship, but there is no relationship. They are two separate entities. The Black Lives Matter Foundation, that is the subject of this video message, earned 501c3 status. The Black Lives Matter Global Network does not have 501c3 status. However, it has the website blacklivesmatter.com. The Black Lives Matter Foundation received a cease and desist order from the Office of the Attorney General of California due to the confusion that was caused after the George Floyd murder. Everyone wanted to throw money at Black Lives Matter, especially corporations. And what their philanthropy team did was due diligence. They went to irs.gov, where I always go to check the status of nonprofit organizations, and they found Black Lives Matter Foundation listed. So it was a natural assumption to believe that this was the foundation that they wanted to donate to, which it wasn't. It wasn't. They thought that they were actually donating money to the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation because, again, the Black Lives Matter Global Network, and it did add foundation later on last month. In June, the word foundation was added on. They went to blacklivesmatter.com thinking that it was affiliated with Black Lives Matter Foundation, which it wasn't. And so that was a big mistake. Another mistake that was made that caused the cease and desist order was when people went to a site called Benevity. Corporations also use a site called Benevity. And through Benevity, they donated directly to Black Lives Matter Foundation because Black Lives Matter Foundation uses Benevity to process transactions or process donations. Black Lives Matter Foundation also uses PayPal to process transactions. So that's why the cease and desist order was issued from the Office of the Attorney General of California. And I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit later. Corporate donations were rescinded due to mistrust. When the corporations discovered that the Black Lives Matter Foundation was not the movement that they thought they were contributing toward, they rescinded their donations due to mistrust. But it was actually the responsibility of their philanthropy team to make sure that they were investing in the correct organization. I'm going to show a video interview with Robert Barnes, who is the founder of the Black Lives Matter Foundation, to let you hear in his own words how he feels about the confusion between the two organizations. Then I'm going to show the Black Lives Matter investigative questions that I show on all of the videos, and then I show the answers. But again, I'm going to really walk through this video methodically because it confused the heck out of me. And it is still confusing on so many levels. And one thing that adds to the confusion is the fact that the United States Patent and Trademark Office refuses to put a trademark on the Black Lives Matter name. It's just too late. The name is used in too broad of a way for them to allow a trademark to be placed on it. Nevertheless, they get an average of 16 applications per month from people trying to put a trademark on some variation of the words Black Lives Matter, something else, such and such. But they're always denied. So that's why anybody, you, me, anyone, can use the term Black Lives Matter, use the phrase Black Lives Matter without any type of repercussions because it's not trademark, and that leads to so much confusion. So let's take a look at the investigative questions that I use all the time. And I'm looking at questions such as, what are the leadership names for Canyon Country, California? Is there a mailing address? Is there a phone number? Is there email or social media platforms? Is it registered with the Secretary of State's office? Does it have an IRS 501c3 status? Does it accept donations? If so, who processes the donation? Which company processes the donations? And then where is the money? How is the money being used? So these are the questions that I'm going to ask regarding Canyon Country, California, which is the Black Lives Matter Foundation, located in Canyon Country, California. As you can see, I've already reported the results for Charleston, South Carolina, and Middleburg, Florida. So the next column that will fill up is Canyon Country, California. So I'm going to demonstrate the process that I use to get the answers to the questions. If you've been following me on YouTube, you know that I don't just provide answers to questions. I walk you through the steps that I use to get the answers. I demonstrate the steps that I use to get the answers. So I'm going to demonstrate the steps that I use to get the answers for Black Lives Matter Foundation. And again, I'm going to also go to the video so that you can hear from the founder of that organization yourself. So I'm going to pause my screen like I normally do so that I can pull up the um, next set of information, or the next screen that shows the information that I need to share. Thank you for that lapse in my brain functionality. Just one moment, please. And I thank you for allowing me to do this. I like to have credibility in what I do. And I think I provide credibility when I can actually go out and show you what I'm talking about. So the first thing I want to show you, I'm going to go to the irs.gov site that I always go to bring up Black Lives Matter Foundation so that you can see the process that I use to validate its status. So you should be looking at the irs.gov website that I use to validate the status of all nonprofit organizations. And you should too, especially if you are considering making a donation. So I go to irs.gov, and then you go to charities and nonprofits, search for charities, and then tax exempt organization search. I've already changed the search by option to organization name, and I've already typed in Black Lives Matter, as you can see here. Now I'm going to click on search, and what's going to display is, thank you, what's going to display is the results. There are 14 results that show Black Lives Matter, and we've already discussed Black Lives Matter Charleston. We've already discussed Black Lives Matter 2, which is in Middleburg, Florida. Black Lives Matter 5280, Denver, Colorado, was discussed in the first part 1 of the Black Lives Matter investigations, because it is an actual chapter underneath the Black Lives Matter Global Network. So we're going to come down to the one that is the focus of our conversation in this video, and it is the Black Lives Matter Foundation in Canyon Country, California. Now, when you look at this, you can tell that the status is still active because it shows the publication 78 data, has the Form 990N data, determination letters, and copies of returns. It doesn't have the auto revocation list. So that lets you know that it still has active status. So what I'm going to do is click on the link so that we can take a look at it more closely. Now, when an organization has active status, then it will have a determination letter. Now, a favorable determination letter is issued by the IRS if an organization meets the requirements for tax exempt status under the code section the organization applied. So let's click on the determination letter for the Black Lives Matter Foundation. And this is what everybody longs to get when they file for nonprofit status. They want to get a letter saying that you have 501c3 status. That's why you file, because the 501c3 status allows you to generate tax deductible donations so that you can then make the changes in the community that you want to see. So I'm going to pause the screen. I'm going to pause the screen so that we can see this actual letter that they received when they got their status. So now let me increase the size here of the letter so that you can see it. This is what a determination letter looks like. And you can see it says, "Dear applicant," okay, I'm sorry. Dear applicant, we are pleased to tell you we determine you're exempt from federal income tax under Internal Revenue Code IRC section 501c3. Isn't that great? I'm trying to, please forgive me. I'm trying to do a good job and I'm messing up. Anyway, this is the Black Lives Matter Foundation, P.O. Box 571633, Tarzana, California, blah, blah, blah. The date that they stamped this letter was June the 5th, 2015. However, the effective date of exemption was May 22nd, 2015, as you can see here. Okay. So their accounting period ends on December 31st. Now, it's important to know when an accounting period ends because the accounting period end date determines when your Form 990 information return is due. The Form 990 information return is the return that you must submit to report all of the revenues that you generated and the expenses that you incurred the prior year. So when you have a fiscal year end or accounting period end date of December 31st, that means your Form 990 information return is due the following year by May 15th, because all Form 990 information returns are due by the fifth month and the 15th day after your accounting period ends. So again, if your accounting period ends on December 31st, you have January, February, March, April, May. That's 5 months. And then the 15th day is when your Form 990 information return is due back to the IRS. So we see that they legitimately earned a 501c3 status. Here is the determination letter right here. So I'm going to pause the screen once again. Let me, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to figure out how to get out of this, how to get out of here now. I'm messing up. What I meant to do, I meant to, let me just delete the whole thing. I meant to go out and pull up the site and then expand it larger, but I did a bad job on that. So excuse me for doing that, for messing up. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to my site. I'm going to pause the screen, and I thank you for your patience with all this technical difficulty stuff. But I'm going to go back to the irs.gov site and continue talking about this particular organization. So again, thank you for your patience and attention. So now we're back. Okay, we talked about the determination letter. So now let's talk about the publication 78 data. Organizations eligible to receive tax deductible donations. I'm sorry. Let me start again. Organizations eligible to receive tax deductible charitable contributions. Users may rely on this list in determining deductibility of their contributions. So the deductibility code for the Black Lives Matter Foundation is PC, which is a public charity. Deductibility limitation is 50% or 60% for cash contributions. And you can read all of the legalese up here if you go to this site. Okay. Now let's get down to the Form 990s. Now there are 4 types of Form 990 information returns. The Form 990N e-postcard is the one that you file that, let me just read it to you. Organizations who have filed a Form 990N e-postcard annual electronic notice. Most small organizations that receive less than $50,000 fall into this category. So when we look at this, we learn right away that the Black Lives Matter Foundation did not generate more than $50,000 in 2015 or 2016. So if you click on it, it shows you, it says tax period 2015. And I hate when the IRS says tax for nonprofits because nonprofits don't pay taxes most of the time. But anyway, I wish there would say information period or reporting period for nonprofits, but I digress. So let's keep going. The tax period for 2015, that's their first year of operation, and the EIN and the name of the organization, Black Lives Matter Foundation. And this is the address. And the principal officer's name is Robert Ray Barnes, and his mailing address. And then it says gross receipts not greater than $50,000, and the organization has not terminated. So that is for 2015. 2016 should read the exact same way, because if you do a Form 990N e-postcard to file your report, your information report, or return to the IRS, you can't have revenues more than $50,000. And gross receipts include everything, like grant money that you've won, donations that you've received, the proceeds from fundraising activities, if you've charged for any services, all of that is considered gross receipts. So when you do a Form 990N, you're saying we did not earn in any form or fashion, all of our total revenues did not exceed $50,000. Now, let's go down to 2017. Now, when you see this one, copies of returns are 990, 990EZ, 990PF, private foundation, 990T trust, then you know that, okay, they earned more than $50,000. That's what that means. You've earned more than $50,000. So it's electronic copies or images of Form 990, 990EZ, 990 Private Foundation, or 990 Trust returns filed with the IRS by charities and nonprofits. So let's take a look. This lets us know that he did better in 2017, or the organization did better in 2017 than they did in 2015 or 2016. So I'm going to look at the Form 990 filing, and let's see how much they did generate, or he did generate that year. So I'm going to pause the screen to make sure that you're seeing what I'm showing and resume the view. Okay, so now here we are. Let me increase the size just a little bit. Okay, so this is the 2017 return for Black Lives Matter Foundation. And I just want to get down to the revenues because I want to see how much they jumped from the 2016. Well, isn't this something? In that year, in 2017, they generated $279,109. $279,109. So they went from not making $50,000 in 2015 and 2016 to jumping up to making or generating $279,109. That's a big jump, wouldn't you think? That's a big jump. So I just wanted you to see that. I wanted you to see how that works. So I'm going to go back and to the screen, make sure that you are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay. Okay. So you're seeing what I'm seeing. So that's a big jump, isn't it? From 2015, less than 50,000, 2016, less than 50,000, and now in 2017, 279,000. Now you notice that they have not filed for 2018 or 2019. The Black Lives Matter Foundation has not filed an information return for the tax years 2018 or 2019. That's suspicious to me because why not? Could it be that you have generated millions of dollars and you don't want to report that? What's going on? The IRS has a major loophole that I hope they close. And that loophole is if you miss filing your Form 990 information return for 3 consecutive years, then the IRS would automatically revoke your 501c3 status. Once again, if a nonprofit organization does not file a Form 990 information return, like I was talking about, for 3 consecutive years, then the IRS will automatically revoke your 501c3 status. Now, here's a loophole that I'm talking about. If you are a thief or if you are a dishonest person, then you are going to take advantage of that loophole. You're going to generate as much revenue as you can in those 3 years, knowing that you're not going to file. You're not going to file. so that the IRS will revoke your status. You don't care if they revoke your status because you've generated millions of dollars in those 3 years. When the IRS revokes your status, they don't go back and say, okay, we revoked your status, so therefore you need to present to us all of your Form 990 information returns for the 3 years that you did not file. They don't go back and ask for anything. They just revoke the status. So again, if you're a thief, that's good. That means you can generate money for 3 years and don't even have to ever report it. Now, if you want to reinstate your 501c3 status after automatic revocation, you can reinstate your status. Or you can apply for reinstatement. But there are 4 options. You can choose from 4 options, and I'm not going to get into that. 2 options require that you show your Form 990 information returns for the 3 years that you didn't file. But the other 2 options do not. So which options do you think a crook would choose? So a crook would choose the options that they don't have to show their records for the 3 years that they generated millions of dollars. And then they will submit an application for reinstatement. They get reinstated, and just do the same thing again. Operate for 3 more years, generate millions, get revoked, get reinstated. It's just a vicious cycle that so many people take advantage of. And I suspect that this organization is going to take advantage of that loophole. They don't have any intention of reporting the money that they're getting because we saw the big jump in the revenues from year to year. And I'm sure 2018 was even better, and 2019 was probably astronomical as far as how much revenue they generated. They don't want to report that because they don't want to be accountable for it. I wish the IRS would close that loophole because it's gaping. So let me move forward. I've made my point, I think. So let me move forward. And now I'm going to actually pause the screen, and I'm going to let you hear from the founder of this organization. I'm going to let you hear from Mr. Robert Ray Barnes himself. So just 1 moment, please. And thank you for your patience. Thank you for letting me walk through this because, like I said, this one is, this is special. So I want to let you listen to him because he was interviewed by CBS LA about all of these issues that his misrepresentation caused. And I can't really blame it all on him because these corporations that gave money to his organization, they should have done a better job in their due diligence in really investigating where their money was going. So I'm going to resume my screen now so that you can see and hear from Mr. Robert Ray Barnes, the founder of Black Lives Matter Foundation, which is not affiliated with the Black Lives Matter Global Network or the Black Lives Matter movement, if you want to call it a movement. So here we go.
Robert Ray Barnes is the founder of the Black Lives Matter Foundation in Santa Clarita, not associated with the Black Lives Matter movement, and therein lies the confusion. Tonight, a BuzzFeed article claims in the wake of racial protests, donors mistakenly raised more than $4 million for the local nonprofit, thinking it was going back to the Black Lives Matter Global Network, worldwide movement that aims to end police brutality.
I've seen articles that says that I've raised $4.3 million worth. I have never had anything close to that.
The BuzzFeed article does say the bulk of that money raised was frozen before it could be dispersed. Nevertheless, Barnes says he is never associated with Black Lives Matter Global Network.
I've never heard one word from anybody from Black Lives Matter.
But he says he has received donations for his foundation, although he would not disclose the amount.
I don't know whether they're doing it to support what I was doing or not. How do I know? I've been around since 2015.
Barnes says he started the Black Lives Matter Foundation in 2015 after he says his wife's ex-husband was allegedly shot and killed by an LAPD officer. Although the foundation is registered, he says he has yet to launch any programs. Instead, he says he puts money into other charities.
I'm actually proud of what we do. I'm not ashamed of it.
BuzzFeed claims many of the recent donations came from Benevity, a site that connects large corporations like Google and Apple to charities. Tonight, a disclaimer was placed on the Black Lives Matter Foundation donation page saying it had no association with BLM. And GoFundMe sent us this statement saying, in part, 180 campaigns have recently raised money for the Black Lives Matter Foundation, raising $350,000. GoFundMe placed all funds on hold, and we are working with PayPal and the campaign organizers to ensure all of the money raised is transferred to the Black Lives Matter movement via their fiscal sponsor.
So if someone did not want to donate something to me, then I will gladly return. As an example, people have asked me, people have sent me checks that says Black Lives Matter, doesn't say the foundation, and I send it back.
We did reach out to the Black Lives Matter movement here in Los Angeles, but have yet to hear back. As for the Black Lives Matter Foundation, when it comes to taxes, the latest return we could find was in 2017. The foundation brought in just under $300,000. Barnes was the only employee to get paid just over $20,000. Reporting in Santa Clarita, Leslie Nadine, PBS 2.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Susan Wood.
I'm sorry, just one moment.
Susan Wood's Nonprofit Solutions. Thank you for your time. The purpose of this video
I'm sorry about that, everybody. Again, I'm making mistakes, but I wanted to share that with you so that you could see for yourself the Black Lives Matter, Mr. Robert Barnes talking about his organization. I wanted you to see for yourself how it works, how the organization works, and his feedback on what is really going on with his organization. I'm going to now share another screen with you. I'm going to pause my sharing. I'm sorry, all of this moving around and moving from screen to screen, but I wanted to move to another screen so that you can see how the Attorney General's office is handling the situation with the Black Lives Matter Foundation. But before I do that, what did you think about Mr. Robert Ray Barnes? I mean, everything was so vague. He said that he can't help it if people send his money. They don't put if it's Black Lives Matter Foundation or not, so he'll send it back. And according to the reporter, he's generated $4 million in that organization, but it was frozen, so he never got it. He doesn't offer any type of programs, but he's allegedly invests in other programs, but can't show any evidence of that. And then there was a GoFundMe account that raised $350,000, and the money was passed through to PayPal, which then froze the money. So it's so much. It's so convoluted. And then PayPal said, we promise we're going to send the money to the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, movement is an action or a goal or something that you do. So the Black Lives Matter movement is affiliated with the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, which just added the word foundation in June, by the way. But the movement is what people intend to invest in. So the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation is where people wanted their money to go when they gave it to the Black Lives Matter Foundation. Now, one more confusing step. The Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation does not have its own 501c3 status. Instead, it uses a fiscal sponsor. The fiscal sponsor that it uses is the TIDES, TIDES, Network. Now, the Tides Network became its official fiscal sponsor on July the 2nd, 2020. From 2016 until June the 30th, 2020, the fiscal sponsor was the Thousand Currents organization. But the Thousand Currents organization stopped serving as a fiscal sponsor for any entity on June the 30th so that they could focus on their other missions, according to their website. So then the Tides Network took over fiscal sponsorship of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, which is affiliated with the Black Lives Matter movement, which operates under the blacklivesmatter.com website. It's confusing, and I think it's confusing intentionally. Now, let me add one last wrinkle to this whole picture. blacklivesmatter.com is where you go to make donations if you want to support the Black Lives Matter movement. Once you make the donation on blacklivesmatter.com, that donation goes to Act Blue. Act Blue is like a pass-through organization that processes every transaction that is made on the blacklivesmatter.com website. It takes 3.95% off the top of every donation, and then it sends the remainder, what's left over to the Tides Network, which serves as the fiscal sponsor for blacklivesmatter.com or the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. Okay, now, here is the New York Attorney General that orders Black Lives Matter Foundation to stop soliciting donations. So this was published on July the 7th, 2020. I'm wondering if that's a typo. New York. Anyway. Yes, it's New York. Okay. New York Attorney General Letitia James on Monday ordered the Black Lives Matter Foundation, a California-based charity with no ties to the Black Lives Matter movement, to stop soliciting donations from New Yorkers. Okay, I got it. After the organization has been criticized for misleading those who contribute to the movement to end police brutality. I was wondering why New York Attorney General would have anything to do with the California organization, but she just wants them to stop soliciting donations from New York residents. Okay. Attorney General James said the Black Lives Matter Foundation has not registered as a charitable organization in the state of New York, which makes any contribution solicited within the state illegal. Without the registration, the organization doesn't have to disclose to New York donors on how their donations will be used. That's why we are taking action by demanding that the foundation stop soliciting contribution from New Yorkers. I encourage all donors to practice due diligence when giving to charities, James said. Which makes me wonder, is the Tides Network registered in the state of New York to accept donations on behalf of the blacklivesmatter.com, the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation? I guess that's something we could learn, could check out. So I'm going to pause, and I know this is a long video, but I wanted to share this information with you. I don't think I was sharing my screen as I talk, so here it is again. This is the New York Attorney General orders Black Lives Matter Foundation to stop soliciting donations, and this was published July the 7th, 2020. And here's the content that I just read. Okay, and you can look this up for yourself. I'm sorry if I wasn't sharing the screen. Okay, so I'm going to pause the screen one more time so that I can pull up another article about Black Lives Matter, the foundation. Okay. Thank you for your patience. But again, I just want to do a good job on this one because it's so tricky and it's so confusing. So I just want to make sure that I am sharing the information with you correctly. So now we have the Black Lives Matter Foundation raise millions. This is an article on BuzzFeed, and it's not affiliated with Black Lives Matter movement. Movement being blacklivesmatter.com, movement being Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. So we have employees of Apple, Google, and Microsoft have raised millions of dollars for the Black Lives Matter Foundation, thinking it's the international racial justice movement seeking to end police brutality. That couldn't be further from the truth. Uh-oh. And I'm not going to read the whole article, but I would advise you to read it because it's very interesting. It says, here's an example. When Elena Elidias, I can't pronounce her last name, searched for Black Lives Matter on GoFundMe, the popular online fundraising platform, she didn't do much research on the first verified foundation that popped up. There we go. There we go. That's what happens to millions of people. Inspired to help the cause, the 19-year-old Georgetown University sophomore and her Capella group, the Phantoms, raised nearly $1,100 for what they thought was the global movement to bring racial justice and defund the police. It wasn't until she was contacted by BuzzFeed News that the student learned her group had been collecting money for a completely unaffiliated cause. Now, I'm not going to go into all about the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation because she thought that she was helping to bring, it's almost comical. She thought by giving to the Black Lives Matter Global movement, she was helping to bring racial justice and to defund the police. What she still doesn't know, and what these major corporations don't seem to know, is that they don't do anything with the money to help the Black community. But I won't get on that soapbox in this video. The next thing I want to share is the results. I want to share the results of the investigation. And for those of you who stayed with me this long time, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much for hanging in there. But now I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation to share the results of the investigation with you. You can pretty much surmise on what the investigation showed. But here I am, back to the PowerPoint and the investigation demonstration. I've already demonstrated how I came about getting the answers. So here are the answers. If we go over to Canyon Country, California, which is the Black Lives Matter Foundation location, leadership names, yes, we know it's Robert Ray Barnes. Mailing address, it was shown. The phone number was shown. I still haven't found any social media platforms for this particular organization because they use GoFundMe and they use Benevity to raise money. But I didn't see, when I mean social media, I'm talking about a Facebook account, an Instagram account, a website, an email. I'm talking about that for the organization itself. I didn't see that. It is registered with the Secretary of State's office in California, and it does have a 501c3 status right now. Donations accepted, they're postponed. You know, as far as I can tell, they're not accepting donations, and the PayPal has put a freeze on the donations. GoFundMe has frozen the donations, but I don't see where Benevity has done that. They put a disclaimer on its website to let people know that it's not affiliated with the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, but I don't see where they have stopped allowing people to make donations on the site. The donations processor is PayPal and then Benevity. And where is the money? Well, we don't know because Mr. Robert Ray Barnes said that he doesn't support any programs yet. He claims to invest in other organizations, but he doesn't show any evidence of that. So, and then he didn't file the 2018 and 2019 Form 90 information returns to itemize where the revenues went. So we don't know. So we do know that this year he raised for million, over $4 million, $4 million in on one site, and then $350,000 on this GoFundMe platform. So we know there's quite a bit of money somewhere, but we don't know where it is. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? Just take a moment to think about this. Over $4 million, almost $4.5 million is somewhere, and we don't know where. And the IRS is not forcing him to disclose it. That's something to me. So, Black Lives Matter, where I stand. I support the Black Lives Matter slogan, of course. I'm Black and I support the slogan. I do believe that Black Lives Matter. I do not support the Black Lives Matter movement, protests, chapters, or entities because they do not have formal leadership structure, measurable objectives of goals, standard operational practices. Everybody does whatever they want. There's absolutely no financial transparency or accountability, and there are no valid sustainability and long-term plans. I don't know why anybody gives to Black Lives Matter. I would love for somebody to explain to me, why do you give? I'm talking about in the millions of dollars. And George Floyd's murder really ignited people to give from all over the world with no accountability. Black Lives Matter, none of them, the Global Network Foundation, the foundation, the chapters, none of them, from what I can tell, are making a difference in the Black community. Let me just give you one example of me, a personal example. I'm from a county called Marlboro County, South Carolina. We rank almost on the bottom, if not on the bottom, of all educational metrics. Our students perform poorly in school. Right now, of course, with the pandemic, schools are trying to figure out how they're going to teach our children. And of course, they are pushing remote learning. Remote learning is what they're pushing. It's been discovered and reported on the news that 95% of the students, or well, of the households rather, in Marlboro County do not have internet access. 95% do not have internet access. So how are the children going to learn remotely? In addition to that, the majority, probably the same percentage, I don't know, of the households don't have personal computers. Now, the school system said that it's going to provide Chrome computers. And they are also going to provide hotspot accessibility by parking buses in the neighborhoods so that children who don't have internet access in their homes can access a hotspot. We all know how unreliable hotspots are. Imagine how unreliable hotspots are when you live down a dirt road way out in the country. We're not talking about people who live in neighborhoods. There are neighborhoods, of course, in Marlboro County. And there are affluent neighborhoods in Marlboro County. I want to paint a picture where, where everyone is poor. No, we have affluent people living in Marlboro County too. But they normally don't meet the demographic of where I grew up. This is where Black Lives Matter could step in. I've done my homework. It costs $90 a month, approximately $90 a month, to have basic internet access in the home in Marlborough County. And that's cable connection because they don't have the capabilities for wireless internet access. $90 per month for home internet access. This is what Black Lives Matter, or this is one example of how Black Lives Matter could help the Black community, but they don't. Some people say, well, Susan, that's because that's not their mission. Their mission is to defund the police. Their mission is to fight against police brutality. How are they doing that? Movements normally lead to policy changes. You can't have policy changes if you cannot identify the leaders of an organization. We don't even know who the leaders are. So how can you have any type of policy without leadership? So where I stand is Black Lives Matter is just a big hoax. It does not benefit the Black community at all. And I want somebody to prove me wrong. Every time I do these investigations, I am looking for an opportunity to be wrong. I want to see something that shows me that I'm wrong. I don't want to be right about this, but I'm right. I haven't seen any evidence to prove that Black Lives Matter does anything tangible in the Black community. The Black community is still suffering. If you listen to the pandemic, if you listen to the news reports, we are on the bottom. Everything bad, we are it. People who respond the worst to medical services for the coronavirus, that would be us. People who don't get adequate health care, that's us. People who have pre-existing conditions that make it hard for them to fight against the virus, that's us. And where is Black Lives Matter? Nowhere. A lot of times people ask me, okay, Susan, if you don't want us to support Black Lives Matter, can you refer an organization that you vetted that you think deserves to be supported financially? I recommend the Equal Justice Initiative because it was started by Brian Stevenson, who is a lawyer. And the purpose of the Equal Justice Initiative is to basically free people from incarceration who were incarcerated incorrectly. They are in prison for no reason. And some of them have been in prison on death row. And this organization has fought for their release. So I recommend supporting, if you want to make a donation to some organization to help the Black community, support the Equal Justice Initiative. Make a donation on their website. The website is www.eji.org. I want to thank you for supporting my YouTube channel, Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. I really appreciate your help. My website is www.trustsusanwoods.com, and I'm promoting the hashtags, hashtag BLM Investigations and hashtag defund Black Lives Matter. I would appreciate it if you would click on the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. I would also appreciate it if you like the video, if you would click the like button. And finally, if you want to be notified of when I upload video messages, just click on the bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload new video messages. I know this was a long video. I know it was. And I appreciate you hanging in there. If you hung in there, thank you for hanging in there. I really appreciate it. But this was one that I wanted to take my time to walk through the complications and the complexities of the Black Lives Matter Foundation versus the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. So thank you for your patience in listening to me share this information. I'm Susan Woods of Susan Woods Nonprofit Solutions. I appreciate your time. Have a good day.